Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good morning from LA.
Good afternoon.
Uh, Today we're going to start with questions, um, and then we'll go into our discussion for today. All right. So if anybody has any questions, any problems, any progress, anything you want to share, you can do so now.
I have a quick question about location.
Uh-huh.
When we started our organization, we started it from the house, my son and I. And so it's our home address. Do you recommend? I also have an office location, but it was for my other business. Do you recommend that our organization sublease from the actual physical location, or is where we are?
Yes.
Yes.
If
Okay.
you have a physical location, it is best to have your nonprofit sublease.
Okay.
So you do a $1 a year lease. That also counts as a donation, whatever the market rate is for that. And your tax professional will show you how to calculate it. But a
Okay.
$1 a year lease, and what that does for the nonprofit, um, it allows you to update your address both with the state and with the IRS, so that when
Mhm.
people search the public document, your home address will not come up. But also, when you write for things,
Mhm.
one day you might want equipment, and a funding source at times will want to do a site visit.
I see.
Um, and if they do a site visit to your home, um, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it would look different than if they were coming to an office, even
For
if you're
sure.
just renting out one desk.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And then when you go after government grants, state, especially federal grants will require you to register, of course, with grants.gov and sam.gov. And when sam.gov goes through verification, it will require a physical address. If that's your home address, then now your home address is public information on the federal level. If you used a PO box, then that will kick out. It will kick out. It won't allow it. If you use a post office box, it won't allow it. And I've even read where some people have tried to, and they taught this actually, use the physical address of the post office as if that was a way to get around it. Instead of saying PO box, say like 4013 Cherry Street, Suite such and such. But it still kicks it out. Also, a UPS box gets kicked out. They call those mail services.
Yeah, I have our mailing address for my for-profit business. I'm on sam.gov, and
Mhm.
our mailing address is the mail drop, but the physical was actually um the physical address. Well, when I started it was my home address, but I changed it
Mhm.
to our
Yeah,
physical
yeah,
location. So,
yeah. You
okay,
can
I'll do
update
so.
that so that both of them will have the same physical address. That's perfectly fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome. All right. Next question. Any problems or progress? All right. Anything specifically that somebody wanted me to go over? All right. So they're right. Can you all still hear me?
Yes, we hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. Okay. So let's hold on, Karen. Somebody's typing. I'm not looking at the screen, so I'm asking you all to speak up. Karen, and she might be at work. She just said hello. Yeah, virtual office gets kicked out. For federal grants, they do verification for a physical address, and they'll tell you a home address is fine. Whatever address you use will become public record. Okay. All right. So, before I go into lesson, if anybody is interested in coming, I'll be in Dallas. Well, actually, I'll be in New Jersey. I have to speak in New Jersey on Friday. Um, I think it's Camden, New Jersey. And then I have to
Yes.
speak in Dallas. You want to talk about New Jersey and invite the folks?
Sure. I can put the registration link right there. It's a free event. It's from noon to 4 p.m. It's at the Camden Joan and Ray Kroc Center. And it will be vendors all around. We have live entertainment, door prizes, and none other than our own coach who will be presenting to those who are there. So I'll drop the link, and if anyone's interested, we'd love to have you.
All right. And it's a free class. Anybody can attend?
Yes, it is. It's a free class. Anyone can attend.
Okay. All right. So if you or anybody you know are in the area and they're interested in grants, have questions about funding, especially how to do debt-free events, how to do events where the money does not come out of your pocket, and also some current trends, some things I've just learned about grant reviewers, and what they're looking for when they review applications. I've been invited to a few different grant review teams right now. There's some things that they're doing to weed out some people and to bring other people in. So if you want to be in the know and you want the people you know to be in the know, you can tell them to meet us in Camden, New Jersey on Friday. And it includes community groups and church groups as well. Now, on Saturday, I'll be in Dallas. I have to speak in Dallas. And this event is targeted towards people that used to be part of the game. And so that's strippers, drug dealers, former people that used to make their money that way. And I'm going to be teaching them how to take the skills that they had, how to use them to develop their communities and improve their communities. So it's a whole different thing. I've never done anything like it before, but I appreciate, just God allowing me to go and speak to that group. The conference is called Divorcing the Game. And so I'll be in Dallas teaching them about community development and grants. Any questions about either of those? That's on Saturday. So I'll be in New Jersey on Friday, Dallas on Saturday.
All right, Coach, we're moving around. Hey, everybody, happy Tuesday. So the one that's in Dallas, Divorcing the Game, how do we, find out about this?
I'm gonna post the flyer. All right. I'm gonna post the flyer, Mark, if you can share it with the group, please. Yeah, and the location is in there. It's gonna be at some kind of stadium. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, let's go. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, so let's get started. You all know that the grants calendar is actually what governs everything that we do for the year. And a lot of people overlook it, but if you actually consider where you are in the grants calendar, you don't only know what you're supposed to be doing right now, but also tells you what you can start now, so what you can do to be ready for what's coming up next. So we are approaching the end of foundation grant season. So lots of foundation grants, their deadlines are coming up. Their deadlines are approaching. And if you have not already connected with your community foundation, you are missing a lot of money opportunities. All right. So if you have not yet connected with your community foundation, go ahead and connect with them. And don't be surprised if their deadlines were like May 6th and May 7th and yesterday and stuff like that. You have to think about this stuff beforehand. The early bird does get the worm, but there are grants all year round using the strategies that I teach. I just don't want you all to miss things that are available to you if you only knew about it. Okay. So the grants calendar shows us that in the month of May, we need to be getting ready for state grants. We need to be getting ready for state grants. If you have not already reached out to your state representative and just ask them what grants are available. Do you know of any grants that are available in our area? Can you forward me to your grant portal? Anything like that that lets your state representative know that you are interested. You want them to become a part of your nonprofit work. Make sure you have them on your mailing list. Make sure that you include them in your updates. Make sure that you have make sure that you just keep them aware. You don't have to, like, they don't have to show up for everything, but you want to make sure that they know about it, because what they'll do is spread the word to their people, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So right now, you should already be in touch with your community foundations. If you're not, go ahead and look up your community foundation. And you do that by typing the name of your city and the word community foundation. You type that into Google and it'll come up. Does everybody know how to get in touch with your community foundation? Has everyone been in touch with your community foundation?
Yes.
All right. Anybody not been in touch with your community foundation, just don't know how to connect with them? All right. So let's move on. In the month of May, you're looking at state grants. And you get those through your state representative. This is state departments of education, departments of health and human services. All those state agencies are announcing their grants. The reason they're doing this is because they're getting ready. They're getting ready for the end of the fiscal year. The end of the fiscal year is June 30th. So what they're doing is spending the rest of their money right now, because if they don't use it, they lose it. Another thing that's about to happen is your school systems, your courthouses, the police, they are about to cycle out all of their vehicles. So the vehicles that they had that were in service, if you need buses or Ford Escapes or Crown Victorias, et cetera, I've seen a lot of Dodge cars, Chevrolet cars, Ford cars. Their procurement is coming up. So if you need any of that stuff, you can bid on it because it's part of open bid. But not only can you bid on that stuff, if you call them before they put it up for bid, they actually can just give it to you. All right. They don't have to bid on it. You don't have to bid on everything. I remember there was the county school system had some buses that they were going to give away. And so I called them because I wanted a minivan. And they said, well, we have a bus we can give you. But I couldn't use a whole bus because it needed a CDL to drive it. And all I needed was something for catering. And I was trying to get one of their minivans or Jeeps or something like that. But they said, well, if you want the bus, we can give it to you. If not, then we'll put it up on bid. So just keep that stuff in mind. You can contact the school system directly. If you don't know who specifically to talk to, then you just send an email to whoever's over the school board and ask them who can you contact about procurement. Procurement is where they buy and sell services. And so when you call that office, you just want to talk to somebody and ask them. You introduce yourself. I'm such and such, the founder of this nonprofit. We were looking for whatever it is, computers, desks, books, tablets, buses, cars, any of that type of equipment. Okay. So the next thing that you want to think about when you're in the grant space and running your nonprofit, you have to be ready for whether or not you go after federal grants or not. You want to be ready for all the documentation that's required, no matter what you're going to go after. There are some organizations that will ask for, as part of your grant application, they're going to ask for your board list. And so your board list consists of these things. It has the name of the board member, their position on the board, their profession, and their address. All right. The name of the board member, their position on the board, their profession, and their address. Now, whatever you submit, whatever you have as a board list, the list of your board of directors will need to include these things. And if you actually just go ahead and create the list, and you can attach it whenever it comes up as a requirement. But what you do not want to do is to have a grant application that you're filling out, and one of the attachments is to attach the list of your board members, and you don't know who's on your board. You don't know if they intend to still be on your board. You don't know if they're active on your board. You haven't assigned them a position on the board, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that you fix that is by simply having one meeting where you discuss board roles and responsibilities. Your board list needs to include the name of the person that's on your board, their position on the board, their profession, and their address. So the person, it'll need to be their legal person last name. You don't have to include middle names. If they have prefixes like doctor and things like that, you can include that. That looks good. And include their profession. Now, when you list their profession, you can say doctor, lawyer, etc. One of our board members retired from working at a warehouse, and the warehouse company that he worked for did logistics. And so what we put on our board list is retired, logistics. Okay. The position where they are on the board is president, vice president if you have it, secretary, treasurer. If you don't have vice president, it's okay, but it is not okay if you don't have a secretary and treasurer. So you need to assign those. You want to have a president or CEO or chairman of the board. Any one of those titles is appropriate. President, CEO, chairman. All right, board chair, chairman of the board.
Coach, I have a question about that. So, is there any way, or is it possible for one person to play dual roles? Like vice president can maybe be / secretary, or vice president could be / treasurer. Is that possible?
No, that cannot be.
Okay.
Your board needs to be at least 3 people. And the reason it needs to be at least 3 people is because the president, the secretary, and the treasurer needs to be 3 different people. You can operate without a vice president, but you cannot operate without a secretary. You cannot operate without a treasurer.
Okay, gotcha. So I do have 3, me, myself, and 2 other people. I was just like, I don't have a vice president, but I get what you're saying. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do not need a vice president, but you do need a secretary and a treasurer. All right. And the reason that you need these is because both in terms of fiduciary responsibility, you need these 3 people. For checks and balances, you need these 3 people. And if any of you got your nonprofits set up by me, or if you followed my template or my class on how to set up the nonprofit, your bylaws actually require that you have these 3 positions. Your bylaws require it because the state requires it. The state requires it because federal government requires it. And so if you have my template for boards, and if you set up your nonprofit according to the instruction that I gave, then you are in compliance on the state level and the federal level. All right. But if you did not do it, then I can't speak to what's there. And what will happen one day, your program is going to be selected for monitoring. And when your program is selected for monitoring, that means that you have received a grant, more than likely from a public agency, a city, a county, or a state, and they're going to review your program based upon your bylaws. So they're not going to ask you, are you in compliance with them? They're going to ask you, are you in compliance with what you wrote down? And a lot of times people don't know what they wrote down, or they paid somebody to do it, and so they just have no idea what's written down. And you can't comply with something you don't know.
Okay, I have one more question about concerning the subject matter. How do you go about adding board members and like removing board members? Like, what's the process? What does that process look like?
Mm-hmm. All right. In order to add a board member or subtract or remove a board member, you simply need to have a board meeting. You can call a meeting, and it does need to be documented. So you call a meeting, and you can call a meeting just by email, and you can have the meeting on Zoom or in person. The meeting doesn't have any requirement of length or shortness. It can be 5 minutes, or it can be part of a standard monthly meeting that y'all have. If I did your bylaws, and if you're using my template for bylaws, it requires that you do 1 board meeting per year. You can do it, and you probably should do it at least quarterly, but you are required to have 1 board meeting per year. If you do not have 1 board meeting per year, then you are out of compliance. And I've even seen where a organization that I set up, they moved on, and a few years later, a grant agency asked them for their bylaws. And when they asked them for their bylaws showed that they were required to have 3 board meetings per year, but they had none. And because they had none, they were out of compliance, and the grant that they were awarded was taken.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. I noticed that some boards had what they called a secretary treasurer, and you were saying it's best to keep them separate. Then I did ask someone, and they had made one person their recording secretary, which was different than the secretary treasurer. They said the secretary treasurer was the person who put those the seals and things like that on it, but they were not the person that actually sat in the meetings and recorded the minutes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is this a 501c3 that did that?
Yes, it was.
Okay. If they did that, then they have described it in their bylaws, and they're following it that way.
Okay.
People have recording secretaries and things like that. They do have it, but what they're doing is in compliance with their bylaws. If you ever want to update or change your bylaws, it typically requires a unanimous vote, but it can be done.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And yes, Coach, just for clarity, you're saying that if I want to add a board person to the board, is just call a meeting of everybody. It can be done through Zoom. So originally on the paperwork, I have like 1 person that's no longer, in a part of the board. How am I supposed to go in there and change like the paperwork with her name on it or whatever? That's why I was wondering.
No, you're not going to have to change it. You'll make that update when you do your 990. Okay, so there are 2 ways that you update. You update your board list based on the most recent board meeting. So you add a person or remove a person just in the meeting. You vote them in, vote them out, majority rules, and you document it. Such and such has been voted out. Such and such has been voted in. That becomes part of your minutes. And then you update your board list, both on paper and on your website. Okay.
Thank you so much.
The next thing that you have to do is at the end of the year, when you do your 990, they'll ask you if there have been any changes in your board, and you'll name it there. And that's what will update you on the government side. But they don't ask you to change it in the middle of the year. They're not going to ask you to change it with them just when you have your board meeting. They really trust you to do what's right. And at the end of the year, you just tell them what you've done.
Okay, Coach, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. No problem. All right. So when you have your board meeting, when you have, oh, I'm sorry, y'all. When you have your board meeting, what you're going to do is send out an email saying board meeting will be such time. If it was a standard board meeting, you want to give a 2-week notice. If you're calling an emergency board meeting, then name it an emergency board meeting. And you just want to take minutes of that meeting. You just take minutes of the meeting. The minutes are going to name the date of the meeting, the time that it started, the people that attended, and all the decisions that were made. At the very least, every board meeting must include the date of the meeting, the time that it started, all of the people that were there, and all of the decisions that were made. If you want to document discussions, you can. If you want to document points, you can. And that might add to the value of the meeting minutes as you document your progress. But you are required as an organization to have meetings, and those meetings must have minutes, and those minutes must have these 4 things: the date of the meeting, the time that it started, the people that were in attendance, and all of the decisions that are made. Once you've made a decision, for example, a nonprofit can borrow money, open lines of credit, things like that. So if your nonprofit wants to get a credit card, that is a decision that must be voted on by the board, and that decision must be documented in board minutes, and then a resolution must be created. The resolution is just one line: be it resolved, the board has voted to allow Michael Jackson to get a credit card in the company name, and then the secretary signs it. Resolved, the board has made a decision to allow Donna Karen to buy a house on behalf of the agency. Resolved, the board has agreed for Jim Carrey to open a bank account on behalf of the organization. That resolution needs to say resolved in capital letters, whatever the statement is, and then a signature. Now that resolution needs to have a date and a time on it. You're saying that the board has made this resolution. And you keep all of these resolutions together in one book with your minutes, your resolutions, and your board list. You must do this at least once a year. I prefer you do it quarterly. Some people do it monthly. There are some that do it bi-monthly, but you're required to do this at least once a year. Now, the roles of the board, we're talking about the minimum. You can always do more, but this is the minimum. So your president is facilitating the mission of the organization. All right. They do not have more power than everybody else. They do have more responsibility, but ultimately they are the chairman, the CEO, the board chair, the president, etc. The chair of the board is actually more powerful than the executive director. The executive director is the employee of the board. So the board is over the executive director, and the chairman of the board directs the board. Okay. Then you have the secretary. The secretary is primarily responsible for documenting what goes on in the organization. So that secretary is responsible for keeping these minutes, keeping them current, and whenever there's a transfer of power, they need to turn it over to the next person. And then the treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for the money stuff. So they're the ones that bring the bank statement to each board meeting. The bank balance, to show what the organization has, how strong the organization is. When it comes down to planning for next year's budget, that is primarily directed by the treasurer. Sometimes in small organizations, these 3 people get together and do the budget, but it is the treasurer that presents it. Sometimes as organizations grow, they need more help, or they want more people to come in and offer their expertise. So you can create a finance committee. This is called an ad hoc committee of the board, an ad hoc committee of the board. So this committee exists because the board said it needs a committee to do this because it's too much for one person to do. And you can use committees to help raise money, because when somebody becomes a committee member, they are closer to the organization, and you can ask them for donations. You can ask them for in-kind. You can ask them to refer their colleagues. Sometimes if you need an audit done, an audit or review or a compilation, if you have somebody on your board that's in the financial industry, then that person can refer one of their friends to give you a hookup, deeply discounted, or full pro bono. There's the advantage of having a committee of the board, in this case, a finance committee. And you can create committees at will, just however you want to create committees. But the committee is not a board member. The committee is just folks that volunteer to help the board out. All right, anybody have any questions about that? I've kind of been going on for a while. Any questions about any of what I've gone over so far?
No questions, Coach, but I do appreciate the breakdown of this because it gave me a whole lot more understanding of what I can do and what I can't do.
Okay. Good. Anybody else?
Question, Coach. Yeah, quick question, Coach. Can the chairman or the founder be a CEO?
Yes, they can, but either they are a board member or they are the executive director. So if they're the board member, they're the CEO of the board. They're the chairman of the board. They're the president of the board. That's of the board. If they're, yeah, the founder can be. For example, I'm the founder of Black Wall Street. I could have been the executive director. And if I were the executive director, then I am entitled to get paid. But I do not get paid. I am not the executive director. I'm the board chair. I'm the final say, the final signatory, the final fiduciary for the organization. And I volunteer to do this. So I am the board chair of the board. Somebody else is the executive director of the organization. And the executive director is the person that's doing the day-to-day work.
So, Coach, what would your recommendation be for the CEO or either executive directors? Because some people don't like being an employee. Would you recommend contracts? Because that's what I've been running into. People who are leading organizations, the board develops a contract for them and they agree, and it's for a term at which they will be reevaluated or reviewed for continuation after a 3 to 5 year period.
Yes. Now, it is normal for executive directors to have a contract. That contract is considered, and of course, y'all have to, this is not legal advice or financial advice, but in my experience, that contract is an employment contract. So that executive director, they do get a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly paycheck. They do get a W-2. But because of their role, they have a contract. So they really have both. They have their W-2, and that has wonderful advantages. But they also have a contract that gives them certain consideration. This does not make them a 1099 contractor. They are an employee. They're just a senior executive employee, and they do get special treatment because of their contract. That contract can be a 3-year contract, a 5-year contract. And they do this because it takes time to grow an agency, to turn around the agency, to develop an agency. That executive director does need certain protections because of their intellectual property. They're bringing everything that they have to an organization. And it should not be that they're treated in the same way as, a dishwasher at McDonald's. And so that executive director should have an employment contract that is appropriate for executive directors. That employment contract can also name and outline bonuses, special privileges, fringe benefits. There are executive directors that receive, they get a house. Matter of fact, one of my friends, she was a department head at United Way, and she left to be executive director of a wilderness program, and they gave her a house. And I was thinking that, they just gave her a little cabin, but it is definitely not no little cabin. It is one of those resort houses. It just so happens to be on the property of the thing of the resort. You'll also see this with presidents of colleges and universities. They'll get a house given to them. Sometimes you also get an expense budget. You can get a car. You can get your computer, of course, a travel budget. There are certain fringe benefits that the organization can do to make you comfortable. They can give housing allowance. All those things are in the contract.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions about what I've gone over so far? All right, so let's go to the roles and responsibilities of each person on the board. So you have the president. They're responsible for the overall direction of the board. They're facilitating the board. Their vote has equal weight as other people's votes. In other words, as president, they don't have more voting weight than other people. They can be outvoted. All right. But they are ultimately responsible. In a very practical sense, whoever is the founder or the president, they're actually the ones that invite the first people of the board. And one of my clients, they had their 501c3 created by a lawyer, and that lawyer added themselves as a member of the board. And they told my client to change it when they wanted to. But to get them started, it was my client and 2 lawyers from that law firm that made up the board. All right. So next you have the secretary. That secretary is required to document the meeting minutes. They are the person to sign documents. And if there's any type of communication, the communication is expected to come from the secretary. It doesn't mean that other people cannot respond, but the official response typically comes from the secretary. And when you respond to something, representing the board, you do not identify one person. You add every board person's signature, which means you write it out and you pass it around and let every board member assign their signature or fix their signature. Or the signature line just says the board of Black Wall Street ABL, the board of For Care for Moms, the board of Grandparents. Then the last required person of a board is the treasurer. They bring the financial report. If you have brought in $0 and spent $0, still let there be a moment that you present the financial report and approve it. It might look like you're wasting paper, but it is required. So it doesn't matter if you have one thing to talk about. Let each board person talk about their one thing so that you can have a full and complete board meeting. Now, whoever is facilitating the board meeting, what you want to do is have this agenda outlined ahead of time so that people can know what to expect and fall into place. If you have financial reports or anything else, that executive director should present that to the secretary at least a week ahead of time so the secretary can send it out to the board. The worst thing that you can do is have the board meeting where all the information is a brand new surprise to the board. You want people to have time to review it and to ask questions about it. All right. Okay. So the executive director's report. Executive director's report will just need to report the progress and the challenges of whatever is going on inside the organization. The way it goes is that the board does not work inside the organization. Now, we know in the beginning, it's all hands on deck. Everybody's doing everything. But a more mature and sustainable organization has a board that works on policies and governance and fundraising. And you have a staff that are led by an executive director, and they're making sure that everything is carried out. All right. So what questions do you all have about this? One of the last and biggest responsibilities of the board is to raise money. So a fiduciary means that they're responsible for the legal and the financial aspects of organization. And when you raise money, especially when you go into larger grants, they're going to ask you how many board members have given money. When they ask you that, they need a percentage. And you want to be able to say that 100% of your board has given. I'm gonna see if I can show you. Can you all see me?
Yes.
Let's see. So here is a board list. They came from the Community Foundation. They asked how many board members are serving on the board. At time of this application, there's 6. The minimum is 3 and the maximum allowed by your bylaws. How many board members are scheduled? How many board meetings are scheduled yearly? How many have occurred with a quorum of members in the past 12 months? Quorum is the number of people required so that business can be conducted. Quorum is the number of people required so that business can be conducted. Quorum is the number of people required so that business can be conducted. If you have a board of 10 people and you only have 2 or 3 people there, it is not appropriate to conduct business because you do not have a quorum. If quorum is set by the number of people on the board compared to the number of people that show up, then that's what you have to go by. But there are some organizations that establish quorum based on different things. For some people, they establish quorum based on the number of board members on the roster compared to how many show up and stay for the whole meeting. So that if you lose quorum, you lose the ability to do business. So if you have people there and then the majority of them leave, then now you can no longer do business and the meeting must end, or you're just having a discussion. It's no longer a meeting. But there are some organizations that establish where as long as quorum is met at the beginning, then we can conduct business for the rest of the meeting. So quorum is an important term. It's a legal term. And it is the number of people that must be there in order to conduct business. And oftentimes quorum is set at the majority. As long as the majority of people are there. For some, it might say 51% of the board is there. There are some that require 75%. The bylaws that I create and folks use as the template, they say 51%. What is the length of your board's term of service? In the bylaws that we give, the terms are 2 years, and they are, you can repeat your year, you can repeat your tenure, your term. You can repeat your term 3 times, so a person can be on the board up to 6 years. So what is your board's term of service? 2 years. What is the maximum number of successive terms? 3. And there are people that they really enjoy the work. So they'll be on the board, then they'll re-up the next year, then they'll move to a committee for 1 year and then back on the board.
Customer service needed in the pain and sleep department.
Board member, office or committee, term of service, professional community affiliation, geographic representation. All right. Okay. Are there any questions?
Happy Tuesday, Dr. Hackett.
Hey, how's it going?
I have a house full of contractors right now.
Oh, Lord.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Is there a technical difference between, say, a board meeting and a general staff meeting?
Yes, a big difference.
Okay.
So a board meeting is an official meeting that governs the agency. Decisions made in a board meeting are affecting the agency as a whole, all the way up to policies and procedures.
Okay.
But a staff meeting does not change policies and procedures. Staff
Okay.
is operations. Board
Okay.
is governance. And so
Okay.
the scope of a staff's authority, it extends only to operation, as in they cannot change the policies of the organization. They cannot change the mission statement. They can have a staff meeting and discuss everything, and we want everything to change, and they can vote and holler and scream. It does not mean anything until the board decides.
Okay. So in that scenario, or in that case, for me and mine, since I have not, or the organization itself has not solidified its board members, how would you recommend, I guess, going about having its annual board meeting to have that documented?
You just need to schedule it, and whoever you have on roster right now, whatever the 3 people are, those are the 3 people.
Okay.
And 1 or 2 of them doesn't show up, then have a replacement, vote that person out and vote this person in so that you can have some paper.
Okay.
And it might be, there are some people that right now are doing work with, and you have 2 people that generally believe in what you're doing. They might not be totally invested in it, but they believe in what you're doing. You gotta let them, all right, y'all, we need to have a board meeting because I need to make some decisions. And it'll take about 15 minutes.
Okay.
And if you want to bring somebody else in, then you do that. But those decisions only have power because they come from the board.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you,
And
sir.
some of you that are working, maybe not Carrie, but some of the other organizations working, and the meetings that you're having really are board meetings and not staff meetings.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. All right. That's good. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Now, once you have your board meeting, You have the minutes. The secretary has documented has documented everything. You have resolutions. There are things you have decided to do. The next thing you want to do is look for new board members and committee members. Now, you want to be intentional and you want to be careful. You've got to be strategic about who comes on your board, because once they're on the board, they have equal power as you. So you don't want somebody to be on your board that does not believe in what you're doing, does not believe in your vision, doesn't believe in the way that you intend for this agency to get off the ground. There are times that a board will fire a founder. So it's possible for you to have a meeting and your board members vote you out. That is possible. In fact, there's an organization I know of whose executive director worked for free for 2 years, maybe 3 years. The contract, and they're in a legal dispute right now because the contract said that she was supposed to get paid at the time that they had the money. And the money showed up and the board did not pay her. And so the dispute is, was it volunteering or was it for future promise of payment? And in the meantime, they removed her.
Those weeds, see, it'll be a smoke in the city, Jesus. I ain't lying.
So I have a question, Coach.
Yes.
Okay, so is there any way that can be put in the bylaws where you cannot be voted out?
No,
Mm,
that
okay.
cannot be. And so
Okay.
it is, yeah, exactly. So that's why you have to be very, very intentional. And so I'm going to tell you some strategies. If you know that you are making a long-term commitment to this organization, and you want to be at the helm of it over long term to make sure that it can breathe, and live and thrive, and that your work doesn't go undone or mutated or siphoned away by somebody else. Especially, like you who are thinking about donating property to your nonprofit and things like that. You want to be very careful about who's leading it. So here's some things that you can do. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's not a pretty answer, but it's real.
Yes, I understand.
All right. So you can set the terms of service. So the terms can be set for any length of time. All right. So you can set a term. You can say that a person can serve on the board for 5 consecutive terms. And you can set the term for 2 years or 3 years. So that, and when they say term, they mean back to back to back. So if you set the terms, in the example that I just showed you, if the terms are 3-year terms and you have 3 of them, then that means the person can be on the board. 3 times 3 is 9 years. After year number 9, they have to come off the board. But where do they go? They can go to a committee. And then that next year, they can come back to the board. All right. If you name a board member, if you name a person that that is the board chair indefinitely, then it will send a red flag to the reviewers. Okay. So you want to be more intentional about how you do it. If you color inside the lines, there's always a way to get it done. You can actually name that the bylaws cannot be changed except by unanimous vote. So that means that once you create it, it doesn't matter if everybody wants it to change. It cannot change unless you agree. Does this make sense, y'all?
Yes.
All right. Now, the trick is you cannot change the bylaws on your own. And so what some people do, they will keep their board intentionally small with people that they trust and allow their committees to be very large. Committees have no power. Boards have all the power.
Quick question.
Yes.
So if a organization chose that approach to minimize their actual board for whatever reason, whether it's trust or a sense of power and control, whatever. I see the pro in that. However, is that also doing a disservice to your overall organization? Because then you don't have the ability to have, say, the knowledge or the bandwidth. I can't think of the proper term that I'm looking for, but the breadth and depth of experience on your board to help move it forward.
Yeah. There are some people that intend for their organizations to stay small. And there are some that intend for it to become bigger than them. I, for example, when I started Black Wall Street, I intend for it to last for a long time and to be bigger than me. And so I'm always recruiting people that are smarter than me, brighter than me, more connected than me, et cetera. And the way that I do it is I invite them to volunteer first, and then I invite them to be a committee member. And once I evaluate them as a committee member, and I know that I can trust them, then I invite them to be part of the board. But there was one lady that that thought that we were inviting her to be part of the board. And the moment I met her, I said, oh no. Oh no, no, no. And then later on, it kind of played out where I'm so glad I didn't invite her to be on the board, because she was a mess in 3/4. And once you're on the board, you have equal power as any other board member, and it would have been a mess. All right. So I utilize lots of brilliant people as committee members. You can also create advisory committees, people that advise your organization. You just want some type of steps where you can evaluate them to see if they really have a heart for what you're doing, if they're really willing to put in the work, rather than them just occupying a seat so they can have a big name. But there are some organizations that intend to stay small. So they have a board of 3 or 5 people. Those people make decisions. They'll have large committees, and they'll invite bankers and investors to be part of their committees. Doctors and lawyers and professors can be part of committees. I mean, you can have endless committees. You have research committees, development committees, fundraising committees. Actually, I've even heard of an audit committee. This audit committee is designed simply to take the organization through the audit. And the audit committee was there because the organization did not have a part-time accountant on staff. They had a part-time bookkeeper, but the audit committee was a group of intelligent financial minds from around the community that carried the organization through this audit. So you still had the brilliance that you need, the intellect that you need around the table, but those people were not on the board. What I ended up doing was actually inviting some of them to be part of the board.
So when you do that, in your, I can't remember which one it is, your articles or your operating agreement, say, can you identify before you have a board member full-time, can you make it, in your articles, can you have it designated as like a trial basis or an evaluation period?
Yes, yes. And normally what people say is before a person can be invited to the board, they must serve on a committee.
Okay.
And then we'll evaluate their committee performance.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But remember, if you put that in the bylaw, it becomes a rule that you have to follow every time.
Okay.
Once you say it, you have boxed yourself in and out of it. It must be done that way. Yeah. Once you write it down as a policy, you can break it.
But you can go back later and amend it if it's voted on.
You can go back and amend it if it's voted on unanimously.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So bylaws cannot be except by unanimous vote. Policies
Okay.
and procedures can change based on a majority vote. So here's one way to do it. What I would recommend is in your bylaws, you say that a person cannot be a board member unless the current board approves of it. Then in your policy, you say, in order for the board to approve, we must evaluate their performance. All right. So bylaws are that important.
Thank you, sir.
Whatever you put in those bylaws, they are there until unanimous vote. And if you are getting grant from any public government funds, well, anybody can ask for your bylaws, but those government entities will ask for your bylaws. And if you are out of compliance with your own bylaws, they can pull from you a grant that they have already awarded to you because you are out of compliance. All right. Well, these don't sound like the happiest answers. But this is what you have to do in order to get and stay fundable. All right. Now, the advantage of these board members, when you bring people on the board and the committee, you always want to ask them where they work because they might not know, but their jobs often give grants. They can give grants and they can give sponsorships. And you want to get in the habit of researching people. When you hear about an agency, look them up and see what grants they give. You don't have to wait for, nobody even needs to know that they give out grants. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for today. That was kind of heavy. But let's have questions, whether about this or any grant strategies. I see Shelly Gates here. Shelly, when I called you, my question was to ask if you ever had a meeting with the Community Foundation. Can you answer me here?
No, I have not.
Okay, I'd like for you to reach out to them. The Community Foundation does not only give grants, but they also have scholarships. And there's a list of grants that they have. So just reach out to them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
In Western North Carolina. All right. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? All right. I think we just finished with the last batch of Power Pages. If anybody wanted to get in on the next round of Power Pages, this one will go from May of this year to May of next year. So that's 12 months of grants, including your website, your budget, all the contacts you need to follow with your people. And I'll come and speak at your event to help raise money for your objective and your program, the thing that you're doing. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you tell me again how we're supposed to find the people in our state that you just mentioned?
People in your state.
The founder. You said something about the founder, or how we're supposed to meet someone in our state?
Okay, your state representative.
Oh, okay, state representative.
Yeah, no problem. I can
Dr. Hackett, I'm sorry about that.
I think
Go
it
ahead.
was the community foundation is what she's talking about.
Okay, I can do both. I can show you how to find your state representative and your community foundation. And y'all know I work on all of y'all files. So I'm always going to ask you your city. It don't mean that I'm not working. It just means and that it all runs together. All right,
It's
so
okay.
tell me, you're in St. Louis?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, St. Louis. Let's look up your community foundation first. All right, so here's your community foundation. They have field of interest funds, donor advised funds, and designated funds. And they have scholarship funds. So if your organization wants to give scholarships, you don't only have to give your money, you can give out other people's money.
Oh, okay.
All right. This
Thank
is
you.
their stuff. Let me copy this link for you. I'll put it in the chat so you
Thank
can.
you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. Michelle, you had a question. Shelly Gates, your hand is raised.
Yes, I have a question. I apologize, I was in the vehicle, but you had said that contact the community foundation regarding scholarship opportunities.
I want you to contact your community foundation for all opportunities.
Okay, okay. All right.
I just completed a grant for them. I was like, I don't know why they haven't, like, I've never seen y'all's name on any of it. Do you see all this?
Yes.
That's just in your community. Look at this Women for Women grant. Opens late summer, up to $125,000.
Thank you.
What if you taught, because you're teaching financial literacy to people that are retiring? Is that
Okay.
one of the things that you do?
That's one of, yes, for youth, adults, and people close to retirement.
Yeah. I think you could do an amazing program for women who are about to retire, especially BIPOC women that are about to retire. And this could fund your whole program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Here it is. 2024-25, we will fund the best programs that help economically disadvantaged women become more self-sufficient. Proposals might include, but are not limited to, workforce training, mentorship programs, access to safe, affordable housing, access to reliable transportation, access to quality, affordable childcare, financial education, and empowerment initiatives. See? One grant of 125 to support a new or expanded project, or 6 grants of 15 to 60,000. I'm sure that can be helpful, right?
Most definitely.
Yes.
All right. Now it all starts with you. And I was actually thinking about doing this, y'all. It just takes a lot of work, but I probably will do it anyway. But to go through each grant, we've got like 4,000 of them in our system, and there are so many more. Go through each grant and just name what the eligibility is so that people know ahead of time. Would that be helpful?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And then what we don't fund. So this does not fund capital support or major expansions, recreational programs, festivals or one-time events, activities taking place before grant decisions are made, sectarian religious purposes, partisan politics, endowment or deficit funding, state or national organizations. And this is how you apply. Matter of fact, let me just send this to you right now. If you don't look at any others, you can look at this one. And here's the list of what they funded before. All Souls Counseling got 64,000. Friendship Center got 15,000. The Care House got 43,000. National Association of Mental Health got 35,000. On Track got 65,000. And they teach the same thing that you teach. Funding will compensate staff with lived experience to co-create programs with community partners. Now, what happens is, and I don't mean any harm to anybody, but an organization like On Track will get this money to pay staff, to pay their staff, and then, Miss Shelley, they'll partner with you for free. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
The Rising Day School. Yeah. And this organization, Superheroes, they got $34,000, and all they do is they are the resource if people have an emergency need. As a matter of fact, you should actually be in touch with the WNC Superheroes. If you know somebody that has, and this is just an awesome resource for people, all of your organizations and churches included. You can have a emergency support program, and you can design it and let WNC Superheroes be in the background. What that means is if somebody comes to you and say, I have an emergency, my electricity is turned off, I got laid off, my electricity off, my water's off, and I got 3 babies, and we're facing eviction. You can actually contact WNC Superheroes, and they provide a one-time small grant to survivors of sexual or domestic violence in support of housing, transportation needs, employment assistance. Funds are available through a referral from a caseworker or partner agency. You can become one of those partner agencies. And so when you have a need, you contact them and say, we have a client that has a need. And they'll give you the money.
So, Coach, I have a question in regards to what you just talked about. So, I get a lot of people reaching out to my nonprofit, although we really only focus on homeless pregnant women. I get like women that, oh, I have an adult, disabled child and I need some assistance. Like, could one of my programs, like you said, emergency support program, could I write it up and implement it into the organization to help those people that are not necessarily homeless and pregnant?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. And all you would need in order to do that is a partner in the background. So you don't have the money, they have the money, but they will give you the money to give to the people. Until you decide that you want to apply to somewhere like this directly and say, can you give me the money so I can do what they do?
Okay, yeah, got it.
All right. Any other questions?
I have a question, this is Shelley. So with me doing the 1023 easy, I don't have the 50, no, I think it says the maximum I can have in 1 year is $50,000. I'm hoping I get to that level, but and if I have multiple grants in, do I need to consider that when I put in the amount that I'm applying for?
When and if you exceed 50,000, it just triggers a conversation with your accountant. Whoever is going to do your 990 will now need to do a different form.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. When the government created the 1023 EZ, it was not to prevent anybody from raising more money. It was just that it is the 1023 and the 990 is so long. It used to be so long for everybody that it was just a whole bunch of zeros for smaller nonprofits. Yes,
Okay.
0, just a waste of energy, waste of time. So they came up with a short form for smaller ones. But none of it is designed to stop you from raising money. If you raise money, it's real easy. You just fill out a different 990.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right, y'all. Well, that was it for now. Go ahead and schedule your board meeting. Don't think too much about it.
I actually have a nonprofit planner. I don't know, Mark, can you find it? I created it, and it's a book where you just kind of fill in the blank. It becomes your booklet. And you it has the fill in the blank, and you just print it out, and it has your board agenda, and you just fill in the lines, so you don't have to really remember this stuff. All right, go ahead and contact your board members. Make sure you set up a board meeting. Have your minutes. And in the meantime, just keep looking for grants. We are updating grants in the software all the time. Reach out to your community foundations to see what's available. And you're not going to win any of the grants that you don't apply for. So you have to apply in order to be awarded. All right. Don't worry about what you don't get. Just try. All right, y'all.
Thank you so much, Coach. We really appreciate you. I know I do. I know I speak for all of us. I keep telling you this, and I know I put it in the group. I say it over and over again, but your level of being right here with us and doing this with us weekly, it just, I'm telling you, I've been in so many different things, not just for this, but for other kind of mentorships and programs and monthly memberships and stuff. And most people just kind of do little drip campaigns, which you give you a little something here, a little something there, but that monthly auto pay be right on time every month. But I really feel that you are right here with us, and the level of access that we have to you, I'm very grateful for, and I like our little community. I know we're supposed to be spreading the word and we want your business to thrive too, but I kind of want to be real selfish and territorial, and I have too many people. So I just want to tell you thank you so much. I really do. And also know that a lot of the things that you are teaching us here, I'm applying also to my for-profit business too. So I do appreciate that. It's really helping me all the way around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to do it. It's something. I love you too. It's something that I struggle with. I deal with a lot because I love growth, but I really enjoy people. And I'm by myself at the computer so often, like just reading and writing. That I really look forward to it. So much so that I told Mark I don't want to do any meetings on Tuesday. Somebody called me today. I'm like, I tell them every time they call, I don't have meetings on Tuesdays because I really do appreciate it. And it's just cool to know that that y'all are right here with me. At the same time, I'm like, well, how do you balance growth with this? So we'll figure it out. But my commitment is to stay right here with y'all. I really want to see all of you grow. So make sure you bring your questions. Make sure you're trying stuff. Honestly, if you're trying stuff, you're going to have questions. That's how I know whether people are trying. Like if they're trying, they're going to have questions. And that's why I love it.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we praying for you too now.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
for sure. That's for sure. You always lifted up in prayer. Always.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I haven't been around. I didn't make it to the last meeting. I haven't really been on social media. So I did want to ask Coach, how are you feeling? How's everything going?
I'm feeling good. They called me to say that I was cleared to have living donors evaluated. So right now a person can click on the link that the hospital gave and they can see if they qualify to be a donor. Somebody checked it out to see if they qualified, and they didn't. Actually, the system told them they needed to lose 30 pounds. I was like, oh Lord, I'm so sorry. They were like, no, I need to lose the weight anyway. I'm gonna do it. So I appreciate it.
I'm screaming.
Yeah. You could a person like, so it's the living donor list. And anybody that does make it through that first questionnaire, they will send you a link to go to something like a LabCorp so you can get a blood test to see if you are a match at a whole nother level. So I'm excited about that. It is moving faster than I thought. And so I have to kind of think about that and recovery time and planning out my year. So we got a lot to think about, but I'm doing good, feeling good. My levels are great. They told me I needed more protein and more potassium. So I kind of added some more avocado and everything, but I'm doing good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And I'm hoping that everything, comes through and you find a match. And we get you back, on the road to sitting in here with us, because we definitely gonna miss you whenever that time comes.
Absolutely, absolutely. We gonna make it work. We gonna make it work.
Don't play. We might pull up. I'm just saying.
Lord have mercy. And I'm here for it all. All right, y'all. Anything else before I go today? All right. Well, y'all take care. If you know anybody in the Jersey area, make sure to let them know. We're going to be at the Kroc Center in Camden. Anybody in the Dallas area, we're going to be at whatever that stadium is in Dallas.
And I'm sorry, did you say Mark was going to put your calendar in the group?
Yes, Mark. Can you put the Dallas event?
He did.
Okay. All right. Yep. And if you don't live in those areas, but there's somebody that you want me to meet, you think could benefit from the information, go ahead and send them. Both of the events are free. The more, the merrier. And so, let's go ahead and spread the love. I'd love to meet your people and see you. And I don't get to travel as much now as I used to. So every time I go out, I want to live it up.
No, that's right.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
thought it was a calendar. We
I
just
went
fill
to
in.
Dallas and had such a good time at this place called Free Man in a neighborhood called Deb Elam, something like that. Anyway, it was
Deep Ellum.
deep.
He said
Sean was
he
there.
said LM deep. I'm like, what?
Sean was there. So Sean was there. And man, we had such a good time. Man, oh man, it was amazing. It was hot during the day, but by the nighttime, it was like the perfect balance of warm and breeze with just a little, it wasn't rain, it was like just a touch of mist. Almost like when you're at the theme park and it's hot and they have that little area that got a little bit of water. It did that every now and then. It was so perfect. And whoever this was that was singing, made me want to extend my trip and come back to Dallas just to hear this boy sing. It didn't make no sense. It made no sense how this boy was singing. Good gracious. And the food was good. The people was good. It was great. Sean, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
No, I appreciate the invite.
All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a good day. And
I think she was talking about, wait a minute, I think she was talking about the calendar that you said you're going to get us to fill out for our events and stuff like that. It wasn't the other
Oh,
calendar.
for the
That's
board.
what I
I
was
think the
asking.
board calendar, board meeting
The
calendar.
board
That's what,
calendar.
it wasn't
Yeah.
just,
the nonprofit buddy.
Nonprofit buddy, yeah.
I don't know, Mark, were you able to find it? We created it last year.
Yes, sir. Where do you want me to put it?
You can put it here.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
You're welcome.
And I did one more thing, Coach. I did get an email today. I don't know if anybody has a for-profit business, but Amazon just put out their link for their $25,000 business grant for small businesses. So if anybody has a small business, you can kind of go apply for that.
Yes, I got that email too. I'm on it right now.
All right.
Right.
So let me tell y'all how to do for-profit grants, and I'll probably go through that. If you all start working on them, then I'll teach more about for-profit grants next week.
Please do. Please, Coach, please.
Great.
Because one organization that I'm having a challenge with is LISC, LISC. I've done the Verizon maybe twice because I'm on their Verizon Digital Business Ready platform. I really like the classes and they've been really helpful for setting things up properly. However, I've applied for 3 of the Verizon grants since the time I've been on the platform. I just got the denial, excuse me, from LISC the other day because I guess that's who does the review for it or who administers. And I emailed them back, I want to get feedback. Like, okay, if I'm being denied, fine, but tell me why. So
Yeah,
the next, I won't keep, I'm climbing the ladder, but I'm leaned up against the wrong building. Come on now.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that would really help.
Yeah, LISC, they're huge and they manage national grants and they're super competitive. But you did the right thing by asking for feedback. They might not reply, but that's
They
okay.
have not replied.
Keep
Mm-mm.
reaching out. Keep reaching out.
Okay.
You might need to just reach out to a program officer. I've been denied for the LISC grants as well. So, of course, don't take it personal, but it is just a super duper competitive thing. And it always helps when you know somebody. So if
Yeah.
you know them outside of the grant cycle, you can connect with somebody and then just kind of move into it and say, well, do you have any idea why I get turned down? I didn't
Okay.
know why I was getting turned down for Bank of America grants until somebody told me that you have to, like, they actually want you to be connected with somebody in their business. So whether it's
Oh.
a teller or a volunteer, somebody, they want you to have
Mm.
somebody to put down on that list. Do you know anybody in Bank of America?
Okay.
The same with
So
FedEx.
it won't disqualify you because my son worked for B of A.
No, nope, it
Oh,
won't qualify you.
hey. All right.
Actually is an advantage. Like I
Thank
saw
you.
on Instagram somebody, and there are so many liars out there. It's sad, but it's kind of funny because I look and I see you got like 2,000 comments on grants that don't even apply. Like this ain't like these people are not going to get this grant. So somebody had posted like 5 grants for Black men or something like that, and one of them was the FedEx grant. Well, the FedEx grant only happens once a year. It is a national contest, and you must be referred by a FedEx employee. And then all of the other employees vote, and it comes out at Christmas time. So they announce it after Giving Tuesday. I mean, they make the grant available after Giving Tuesday. They announce it in December as part of how they give back. And they only give out 5 of them nationwide, and it has to be voted by employees. So why would somebody on Instagram put this out and not tell you the real truth about it? So I was
They
actually
are
talking,
so annoying.
I was
It's so
talking to
annoying.
Mark. I was
A lot
talking to,
of it's
yeah,
a scam. Go ahead.
I was talking to Mark about it, and I was like, Mark, like, I don't know, like, when is it marketing and when is it just lying? Like, I'm not going to deceive people. I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't even feel right doing that. You know what I'm saying? But like, why would you put this out there and get these people hopes up when you know that they're not qualified, they're not going to get it. It's not even realistic for them. But people do it. And I see folks that's just going for it. It makes me wonder, like, do people want what's real or do they want what's fake? Because it's
They're
not.
building up their list
They,
with fake
Yeah.
And they just
information.
getting followers. That's what
And
they're doing, building
sometimes,
their followers.
yeah, they build and follow. And sometimes they really don't even know themselves. They
you know
really
what?
do not know what
Granny
they're doing.
G, you telling
Yeah,
the truth right there.
yeah,
The
they don't
Granny G,
know.
they just started doing grants maybe 2 years ago. They got lucky. And now they consider themselves a expert or a leader or whatever. And they just putting out stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't feel right doing it. And so actually I was talking, well, Alina, I met Ashley a few years ago. And I was asking Ashley about it, and she's like, Jay, don't lower your standard. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm
And
not, I can't
nobody's
sleep right.
having the conversation that we just had today. Nobody is having this conversation that we just had today about what's going on in the background, the organization, the requirements. Nobody's talking about that. It's that conversation like, people just don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so
Yeah, because they don't know. And if they were presented with a real grant, I'm not talking about, a $500 one. I'm talking about a real grant that can really like help you cover salaries and stuff like that. If they were presented, they wouldn't know what to do. I'm like, well, I don't want to sound, I'm not a hater. I don't care what other people do. I'm just concerned about the people. Like, why would you mislead all these people? And then grants, which is my industry, gets a bad rep. You know what I'm
All
saying?
about the Benjamins. You know how that goes.
It was crazy. But I'll probably say something about it, and then folks gonna get mad at me. But oh well.
Oh,
It'll
I
happen.
know
well.
before I met you, I mean, I was following this lady and she kept on coming on this webinar and she kept like, she know grants and all she was doing is selling herself what she know, but she didn't give you no information. So
Mhm.
we get to that Ashley event and I was like, oh, what?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm finally gonna learn something.
Yeah. I hope that y'all are learning. Are y'all learning stuff?
We are learning. I'm
And
telling
Yes,
you,
we
I'm
are.
telling you. Let me say this. If we don't learn nothing else, which I know we are, but that 990 hack that you gave us to go find that right there, if
Yeah.
we don't learn nothing else, that is, I hate to keep repeating stuff that's out there, gems, you
Mhm.
drop gems, but that was so, that's a game changer in itself. Just that. So on top of everything else that you've already given, you spending time right here with us like this right now. Them people don't do that. First of all, I've been a Instagram. I had an Instagram since 2012. I just now started using it like 2 years ago because it just, I'm like, this is a stupid platform. Who wants to sit up here and look at people pictures all day? But I am in a couple of different industries where it's required. I'm a hairstylist too. So, all right, I gotta post pictures on Instagram. But just looking at the what people are saying on there, like grants and everything, real estate, everything, investing. It's like this is y'all don't know what you're talking about. You
No,
really do not
they really
know
don't.
what you're talking about. And it's so misleading. And the worst part about it is younger people who, if they're steered the correct way, then they could actually be successful instead of going through a whole lot of, oh, I went over here, followed this person. Now
Mhm.
everything fell apart. I'm misinformed. Now I have to go back and unlearn everything that this person taught me, or I lost money, or whatever it is. And you lose 10 years going around in circles, and then you have to come back to the truth anyway.
Yeah,
So,
you do. You do, because a
yeah.
lot ain't gonna stand. And
Nope.
and you gotta recover from all the damage and like you say, the misinformation. But if y'all, I was thinking of something. If there are topics, maybe topics that I covered a little bit of, and you want to learn more about, or you think like, man, people really need to know this. Um, I was trying to come up with a list of classes that I could teach. Because to me, it's all the same. Like I don't have any notes because I've been doing this forever. But I was like, I don't know like the thing that people want to know more about. Because I think you need to know it all. But if there are topics, things that I went over, like you just said, the 990, um, I can do like a single class on that and even get more information to like build out a whole thing and just kind of build out a library for folks. So if there are things like that, you can just let me know.
Thank you, Coach.
All
Thank
right.
you. That would be very helpful.
All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a good day. And I'll talk to you later.
Oh, they
Have a
was asking
good day.
what was the
Thank you. Bye
990
bye.
replay.
Oh,
Oh,
it,
well, there were
I
two
think
things. I told y'all I'll go in detail about for-profit grants next week. But as you're looking at for-profit grants, you want to differentiate yourself by saying what your business is for the community. And the secret is connecting it to a problem in the city. The problem might have been on the front page of the paper. The problem might be part of a disparity study. It needs to be something where you can say, we just had a problem. We just had a massacre. We just had a crisis, etc. At the time that I opened my coffee shop, it was a George Floyd murder. George Floyd murder happened in a whole nother city, but because it was nationwide, it caused an emotional reaction, and so I was able to use that to my advantage. All right, and I wasn't the only one. The city of Baltimore, actually, Black businesses had a huge revenue spike during that time because people became aware that, like, this racism still exists and we need to do something about it. All right. So the way you write
mm,
a for-profit grant, you have to talk about yourself, but even more importantly, talk about how your business is a solution for a known problem in the community.
That's good. That's good. Also, what I did, I remember asking you this before. I made the different businesses that I use or I'm running, each participant that pays, like if you get a hair service or you get a notary, because I'm a notary too, hair service, whatever you do, and then my for-profit that I've been writing grants for, I created wellness workshops. So everybody that pays for that, a portion of their price that they pay goes to the nonprofit.
Yep.
That way, and my verbiage is a portion, 20% of each, hair service is donated to the Heart First Foundation, blah, 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 where we do blah, 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 whatever our,
Yep.
thing is, and your receipt is tax deductible. This portion of your purchase is tax deductible, blah, blah, blah. So
Perfect.
I try to connect always back to the problem that we are solving and connect to the nonprofit. So
All right. And I'll go into more detail about next week. We'll focus on for-profit grants. The other thing about the 990, what she was referencing was when I showed you all how to find out what to ask an organization, like how you know what to ask, what their giving history is, how much money they've had, any information you want to know about a foundation, a funding source, you can find that on their 990. And so I showed how you can look up their 990. All right, y'all. Well, y'all have a good day. Love y'all. Y'all take care.
Take care. See you Friday.
thank you, Coach. Have a good one. Have a good day,
Oh,
everybody.
if anybody wants to come to Grind Fest, make sure you go ahead and come. I don't know if you're flying or driving, but you get here. We're having a social enterprise and nonprofit summit on Friday. A lot of my funding sources are going to be there. And then on Friday night, the Harlem Nights Casino Night. And then on Saturday morning, we're having a housing summit sponsored by Truist Bank. They're going to be presenting down payment assistance products and things. And then we got carnival rides and bands. Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick are going to be here in concert. We're going to have a gospel showcase. Sunday is even more stuff. It's going to be amazing all weekend long. So come on and hang out with us. All right.
What's the dates again?
May 24th through 26th.
Excellent.
The link is in the chat, guys.
Link is in the chat. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Everybody have a good day.
Everybody have a good day. Bye.